What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us as we are here to dive into masculine energy, getting some insights, some wisdom, some guidance through the lens of the masculine embodiment, through the lens of the masculine spirit. And I'm so excited to be here today with Robert Dunlevy, um, who's
Hello.
my uncle. So we are going to just dive right into it. So tell us about yourself. Like, tell the people your story, and what you do.
Story. Um, see, I'm just recently turned 49, so been around a little while. Um, so I guess my background is kind of more coming from kind of an athletic background, playing football in high school and that fun stuff in sports, and really at a young age, what kind of led into kind of a sports career is at a young age, I really got into exercise and weightlifting, and I thought that was a great outlet. Um, I've told this story before for a few people know, but I think one thing that drove me into getting into fitness at a young age was being an Asian in West Virginia. I didn't quite know that we were very few. And when I went to school, it was like the other kids kind of made it known, and so again, it gave me a little complex. So I saw some magazines and decided that boy, if I looked like these big muscle guys, nobody would mess with me. So I really attached to that early on, attached to working out, and that led to being being a extra strong guy and an extra strong kid, stronger than the normal kids, led to me having a really good career in football. And so I did really well there and really sparked my passion overall for exercise and fitness. So I pursued a master's degree in exercise physiology and finished that degree. And that led to me getting interested in the more medical portion of fitness. So I got into aquatic therapy, did that for a few years, ran an aquatic therapy program, aquatic therapy program for an outpatient physical therapy clinic for a few years, saw the need for people leaving rehab to continue their exercise programs, but they needed more guidance because of injury or special needs. So I started a whole um, company based around that. So I was working in aquatics and on the side had to start a personal training business with more specialized training, more functional post rehabilitative exercise. So one thing led to another. My career kind of advanced. Didn't want to do therapy anymore. Got more interested just in the fitness aspect, and got hired by various companies and moved up the ladder to where now various management positions. Now I actually manage a sport and fitness complex. Got away from a little bit of the training and more into management, but I'm gravitating back into the training because I miss people. So kind of currently where I am now is taking on a little bit of a role of health coaching slash getting back into a little bit of personal training, not too much, but I like the health coaching aspect. It's a different avenue to where I'm actually um, working on people on their health journey to get them to make behavior changes
Hmm.
and for those changes to come from within and explore that from within. And it's been interesting and fascinating. And I still do the managing of the sport and fitness complex. So that's my professional career currently.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the story of just Like, I love how your story, how you introduced this concept of like it came from a wound, right? Like
Yeah,
this whole identity,
yeah.
this whole journey, this whole career came from this underlying wound um of being in a community where there's like this certain level of like rejection and
Hmm.
miscommunication.
Hmm.
And whenever we go on these spiritual journeys and healings, like that's where all of us are trying to dig into ultimately,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
um
Yeah, I often, and I've talked about this to people before about how it is, like when anybody's picking a career path, for instance, it's like, what do you want to do? And it's really funny to me whenever I sit back and look back and think that, my whole career was partially driven by um, me getting picked on, and wanting to create almost this outward appearance or this shell of kind of, speaking about, the theme, this being insights into masculinity of, you know, I'm I'm strong, I'm big and I'm strong and don't mess with me, and it kind of became almost a shell. But for me, the that shell opened up a door that allowed me to be me. So it allowed me to, um, back in the day, I was known as a nice guy. It allowed me to just be a nice guy, and nobody is going to mess with a nice guy. It allowed me to if somebody was bullying somebody, I didn't like that, because I was bullied, so I can interject into that because I looked like I did, and people would back off. So it allowed me in a lot of ways to do some good, you know, by creating that, and I knew how good it made me feel, and how it became like a it kind of, I guess you per se, elevated me, I guess, in a sense. And so I wanted to give that gift to everybody, as far as just making you feel better, makes you feel better, makes you stronger, makes you, when you can do things and you feel more capable, it feels good. It takes you to a whole nother level. So I really embraced that, and made it a career, because that's kind of the gift I wanted to give to people. But along with that, getting into this to the sports and stuff, um, along with that, you can get caught up in that as well, as a guy, when you create that outer shell and stuff. And later way down the road in my career, I got into a little bit of bodybuilding and started getting a little extreme with it. And you talk about that masculine energy coming out, during that period of time in my life, where it's all about the show, and you look big, and everybody's looking at you and gawking at you, and not it kind of pushed my balance over the top into the physical realm. Just a little too physical. I was always balanced, I felt, at a younger age, into my spirituality and my mental growth, and always learning. And so I had a period of time where that kind of bit me in the butt, where I got a little too physical, and a little too much into that part of my life. And that really threw me off balance, and that balance, had its consequences. And uh, and it was a tough time that I really had to get back into spirituality and stuff, and really dive heavy back into that, to really balance things out. And it really, really, really saved my life. And now, I attended meditation retreats and stuff to help me balance out, because I got a little bit too far gone, and I knew I was getting too far gone. So I actually went to meditation retreats, because I knew I had to heal mentally and spiritually, get back. And so I actually created a little blog that is really for my personal self, but really about, um, when I approach people and approach myself and approach life and talk to other people, or really like to really balance that out, or approach health and healing from multiple aspects, as far as the mind, body, spirit, trying to really coming together. Because I know in my personal life how you can't lose that balance. So it's a major balance, and you have to really be on top of it all.
Right. Yeah. Um, so whenever I hear balance and you talk about this and like really tapping into mind, body, spirit, like understanding that sometimes we can teeter too far into the physical body. Some of us can teeter too far into the
Mhm.
mental body. Some of us can teeter way
Mhm.
too far into the spiritual body as
Mhm.
well. Like the whole point of like this human experience is really uh flowing and creating harmony through all these different aspects
Mhm.
of ourselves in whatever unique way that they want to express
Mhm.
or that we want to dive into those things.
Mhm.
Um, so then the question that I feel would be nice is like, what is wholeness or wellness? And, you've kind of touched on some of the things that you have done to bring yourself into it. But like, what is it to you? And maybe what are some insight that you can give to people that are looking to create more balance in their lives?
Mhm. Um, for me, I think the what I've come to, my researching and studying, going on the spiritual journey, even more so, I still come back to what I think, it is mind, body, spirit. They all have to You have to balance that out. And from my perspective, um, I really take the approach of physical health being kind of like your base, and you and like you said, everybody gravitates towards something a little bit more spirituality, and some people dive into the mental aspect and are brilliant. Maybe they got multiple degrees, but you know physically maybe they're not taking care of themselves, and they run into a lot of health problems. So that's where always have to balance everything out. um, so wholeness and wellness to me is focusing on every aspect. To me, the health being kind of the base. And when you study a little bit of the chakra system, um, I like I like how that's set up. The chakra system is very fascinating to me, because like the root chakra, the base chakra, seems to deal with the physical, and that's the base. And
Right.
I think that's very appropriate, because I totally understand and I totally agree with the whole saying that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that's absolutely true. But so we can't neglect that human experience. We're living and breathing and eating, and as long as we're in this physical body, we really need to take care of that temple. And I call it the temple. I think that's where the spirit resides, is the temple, or this is the temple. And we really have to take care of that, and set a baseline there, that when your body's taken care of and fed properly, and getting proper exercise, it really sends positive energy to your mind and to your brain. And you can take those to a higher level. And as far as I'm concerned, if you the better you even that out, and you can grow everything together, the higher I feel that an individual can elevate themselves. You
Mm.
know, I think you can get real spiritual, but if that body's not really is neglected, I think your spirituality is going to get pulled down a little bit. And even if you're really spiritual, I think if you really take care of your body, your spirituality will take off to a whole nother level. If we balance that out. Um, so that's what wholeness is to me, is making sure that we balance everything out. I gravitate towards focusing on the health aspect and that portion of it for people. And of course, that's what kind of what drives me, I guess. Maybe, maybe being a man, and being, that physical challenge almost feels good, and you almost need that as an outlet. We have our own hormones that we have to deal with, and it's a really good outlet to kind of set a base for your mind to kind of calm down and do its thing on its daily basis, and in turn, hopefully that puts you in a good place so that you can develop the spiritual aspect of yourself, and start looking into that, because um, that is super important especially for, I think, for guys, because we can get so physical and get caught up in the physical aspect of taking care of this and doing that and doing this and doing that we don't sit down and kind of open ourselves up whenever things get rough, and things get tough, and we start diving into too much physical stuff that sometimes aren't the good physical things, and that takes many forms for everybody. And we start diving heavy into that, and we sometimes don't know where to turn or how to address that. And we need those outlets to get in touch with that spiritual part of us, um, because that's what will help, heal the mind, and let you function even better and make healthier choices in life, and with relationships, and with work, with everything, to balance that out, to make you grow, and feel better, and feel more at peace with life, instead of grasping at straws all the time, you know
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So when I heard all of that, it's like I totally know a lot of guys. I even know like women who tend to like pull masculine energy. It's like I go
Mhm.
to work and I do this 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 and I do
Mhm.
this. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
I love that do energy. That's totally
Mhm.
like masculine energy is dew. It is heat. It is the sun. It is warmth. Like it is the dew. It is activeness, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the thing that I love that's really being communicated here is like an opportunity for self-care of like taking care of
Mhm.
yourself and bringing
Mhm.
wellness is taking that do and doing for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like do for you. And if we take it
Mhm.
down even a little bit further, understanding that at the very foundation, at the very root of who we are humans that have all of these chemical reactions that are going off
Mhm.
inside of us. And one way to really do for us is to tap into our nutrition and exercise because
Mhm.
it helps kind of um, balance things out, right? What are some of the, I can't think, like, what are some of the things that go off? Or is it endorphins? Like, it allows endorphins to start to produce, like,
Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin,
okay,
all of those good feel good. Those are all feel good, motivational chemicals in us, and it's really difficult, the dopamine and serotonin, to be more specific. The serotonin is the I feel good about life
okay,
chemical that gets released. So, you know, diet and exercise, if you're eating good, nutritious food and you're exercising, we know that serotonin will get released and will feel good, So that right there by itself, what a powerful tool right there, you
right,
know. Sometimes we can't you can think serotonin in, the presence of mind. We know that also meditation and practice of gratitude can release serotonins and release those chemicals. Great. But if I'm constantly putting stuff in my body that's shutting it down, if I'm eating bad foods that don't allow the chemical to release or shut off that chemical because it comes from the gut. So if I'm destroying my gut with processed foods and artificial sweeteners and high levels of sugar and high levels of bad fats, it'll shut down serotonin. So, how are you going to, if physically you're shutting it down, how are you going to meditate out of that?
right,
That's extremely, you're fighting yourself. you're fighting yourself. So it's a constant balance. You got to balance that out. You got to eat it. You got to eat food and good nutrition, so that you set the environment for the body to release it and create it. And then those practices of meditation, gratitude and stuff, boy, now that serotonin's there for you. It can be there for you, and it can release, and you can feel good. So it all has to come together. It all has to come together. Same thing though. If you're eating properly and exercising, but you're beating yourself up in your head all the time, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm crap. I got this and I got that, and everything's terrible in my life. Yeah, the serotonin might be available, but heck, with that mindset, you're never going to release it. It's going to suppress it. You're going to release other chemicals that just make you feel like crap. So again, it's a balance. You mentally need to be kind to yourself. You mentally need to be practicing gratitude. You mentally need to be active and taking care of things that make you feel productive, and everything kind of starts really working together and comes together. And guess what? I don't need that drink every night as much. You know what I mean? Because I feel pretty darn good, because I've got everything working for me, and everything's releasing, and that feels good when everything's working together. So I don't need to dampen that with alcohol. So which is the most common. I throw that out there because it's such a common practice. I understand it. I get it. I totally get it. I did it for years as well, getting stressed out, and I let stress get the best of me for a good period of my life, and it wasn't good. It's not good. It's not productive. If anything, it hurts you, and could potentially hurt those around you. And it's not a good outlet. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love how you use the word outlet too, because
Outlet.
that's synonymous. Like, I think that makes it very clear. Like, how are you dealing with your stuff? Are
Right.
you going home at the end of the day and saying,
Mhm.
I'm stressed. I need to unwind and
Mhm.
cracking open, the
Mhm.
wine, ladies, like
Yeah,
literally,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
cracking
Hear
open
that
the
all the
alcohol
time.
and relaxing. That's your
Yeah.
outlet. Or are we doing something that when we look at it from a logical, scientific, just like blatant, like it's,
Mhm.
alcohol is a depressant. That's
Mhm.
not it's I'm sure at some level it's relaxing you, but it's also an
Mhm.
escape at some
Mhm.
capacity. You want to
It's a
escape the stress.
right.
But there's a difference between escaping the stress and inviting health and wellness into the body.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Right.
So I
Right.
love that there's just like a lot of clarity, that word outlet, how you used it,
Mhm.
like exercise is my outlet as opposed to
Mhm.
alcohol is my outlet. Like,
Mhm.
it's very
Mhm.
clear there, like which one
Yeah.
might be the more beneficial
Mhm.
for us.
Yeah.
And
And
it
again,
doesn't necessarily go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that, and it's all a balance, right?
Right.
It's all a balance. Nobody ever says, you don't poo poo anybody who drinks once in a while and stuff. But is it
Right.
balanced? Are you being balanced about it?
Right.
Is it consuming you to the point that that one or two drinks turns into an entire bottle of wine, which I hear that all the time, or two bottles of wine. You know what I mean? Because you just go indulge too far into that, and then you get too caught up in that sensation, you know,
Right.
and then is that beginning to control you, or is it controlling you or taking over, and you can't, that's the highlight of your day, is to come home and have a drink, or drink that bottle of wine, or whatever. It's just, balance, have one,
Right.
you know or the person who's, obsessed with exercising,
Right.
like I got into bodybuilding, overly obsessed with it, consumed every, outside of, invaded my work life, invaded my home life. It took over, you know what I mean? So it was a 24-hour, and I let it consume me almost too much. I didn't balance it properly in my case. I'm saying people could balance that, but I had a little period where I didn't, you know and so it's just about balancing it out, you know.
Right.
Yeah, like if I had to do it over again, I don't even know if I'd do a bodybuilding competition. I like more functional I like more functional exercise now that I'm into now, and I really enjoy my exercise, and it's all a little bit balanced out. And is this all this stuff easy, Alicia? No, it's not. It's I never want to come across when I talk about any of this stuff that all, yeah, now I got it all figured out and I'm rolling and every day is just like amazing, you know. No, every day brings its own challenges, you know. But when I go through my practices, I definitely know those challenges are 1,000% better. And I know if I get away from certain practices, if I get away from meditation for too long, I can get myself worked up about stress a little bit more, and it starts invading a little bit, and then I know I need to get back to meditating a little bit more. So it's a constant journey into all those aspects that I've noticed throughout my 49 years now. I've noticed that you got to keep them all. You definitely got to keep them all in check. You know, and I think it's a much healthier place to be.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to, it's not, and yeah, it's not about so with that, like the thing that comes to mind is like whenever I studied yoga, right? There's like
Hmm.
so many different forms of yoga. There's like Jananda yoga, and there's like bhakti, and there's like all of these different things. So like there's devotion, and there's asana, which is movement, and there's Jananda, which is knowledge. And it's
Hmm.
like if you get stuck in one for too long, you're still not doing it right. Like if you get over attached to one thing for too long, like you really have to check what you're doing, or it loses its intention, it loses its purpose whenever we kind of get caught up in one format of doing it. Like we can almost build up too
Hmm.
much momentum. So we kind of have to be flexible with our journey to health and wellness, knowing
Hmm.
that we're always going to be adjusting um, to
Yeah.
whatever is present in the now. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think experiencing multiple things is a great practice. It's a great mental practice, as well. Mentally doing things different, or trying something new.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the good mental balance. So you don't get caught up in one thing, and you get to learn, have new experiences in the physical journey, like you're saying, the yoga and stuff. Just explore. There's so much out there, and explore everything. I'm not actually hip to one style of anything. I think in the exercise realm, you got your CrossFitters now, CrossFitters, and you still have your bodybuilders, and people really get caught up in certain communities like that, and you know, fine, great, but I think it's nice to jump around and explore this and explore that. Explore kettlebells for a while, explore CrossFit for a little bit. I think the more you explore, it's just the more you learn, and you get to grow and have more knowledge about. And same thing with the meditation. You know, try different forms of meditation. I was a big Vipassana meditator. I like that style, and I've even changed it up to a little different style, like focusing on chakras or something like that, or transcendental meditation, or just playing around with different forms of that's been very fascinating and eye opening and very enjoyable as well.
Nice. So, my next question is out of my own curiosity, and from some of my clients, like I definitely think that there is a curiosity. So in your experience, in your own words, in working with clients, like when working with men that are like trying to come and get health and wellness, like
Mhm.
through exercise and through things, like what are some of the problems seen or hidden that men are facing that maybe we don't know about?
Um, We touched maybe a little bit on that as far as maybe the physical and kind of outlets, as far as um, maybe some guys have not explored spirituality, so their outlets become very physical and sensation driven.
Okay.
Okay, um, so diving into, alcohol, diving into sensation of women, diving into maybe overworking as well, you know. So um, you see, I've seen historically a lot of that. I've experienced some of that. You see that a lot. I think you still have a lot of that as well. I I also kind of see in the newer generations, um, what I find pretty fascinating is speaking of the masculine and feminine energy of how my generation coming up, seeing women kind of empowering and really empowering, and some women having a hard time with wanting to be really feminine, but you had this real powerful feminine movement going on, and then the women who wanted to be feminine kind of having questions of wanting to stay home and not work. But at my generation, it was kind of like, in order to empower the women generation, the women had to work. But there's a whole generation of women, also there's a whole group of women, I should say, that they didn't want to. They'd like to stay home with their kids, but they were getting almost felt a little bit pressured to do that. I think the pendulum's kind of shifting over now to where the guys are, this generation of men are coming up, and some of them are getting to feel like, all this toxic masculinity is coming out now, and you don't need to be a man, and you need to be softer, and you need to be more emotional, and the men are kind of, I see a whole generation kind of almost struggling with that. And I get it. I didn't have to deal with it, but I see it. It's kind of like, boy, it's kind of confusing. It's got to be confusing for a man. I mean, I try to keep up with some statistics of, women they're really taking off. Great, wonderful. They're graduating and have higher GPAs than the boys graduating now in the schools. They're getting great jobs. They talk about the glass ceiling, but I don't see it. I don't see it too much anymore. These women are really fantastic, doing fantastic, and I see this whole generation of of boys that are falling behind. They took away phys ed from the schools a long time ago, as and as a young man having testosterone and stuff. It's a whole different ball game, and they need those outlets, and they need that kind of an outlet, some kind of an outlet to really release that. A lot of times, it happens in sports, but that's all anymore. You know what I mean? If you're an athlete or you're not. I'm all for athletes, wonderful, fantastic, but the guys who aren't are kind of getting lost. There's no, physical education and stuff. So, and then you know, if you're trying to be too masculine now, it's kind of like, oh, poo-poo that, and keep them a little bit suppressed. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do for a guy. And I've seen this incredible rise, and I think almost everybody has seen this incredible rise in guys like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson's. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, the psychologist who really embrace the masculine energy, and are sending this message to men that you really need to be men. You really need to have those good solid outlets that you're basically releasing that testosterone. I'll put it simply as that. It goes much deeper than that, but you're basically, in essence, releasing that testosterone, and you're being a man, and it's okay. And also, in turn, that also has to be under control as well. But you have to express it. We as men, we must have to express that. If we don't express it, it gets suppressed, and when it gets suppressed, that starts leaking into other portions of our mental health and spiritual health and stuff, to where it gets a little bit confusing. When you kind of get lost, and so I see a little bit of that, or a good bit of that, happening now with these younger generations, and it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough to navigate right now in this environment. But kudos to those guys like Jordan Peterson and out there that really get out there in public and and push that point, and get guys to express themselves in a healthy masculine way, but knowing that it's okay. It's okay to want to hit a punching bag and beat the heck out of a punching bag. You know what I mean? That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's better to do that than to take it out on something else. But we have to have that release. There's got to be it's got to be released for a lot of guys out there. You know, maybe not everybody, maybe not all, but for a good bit. If you have testosterone, you're gonna have that sensation. It's just a fact. Can't get away from it.
Yeah.
So it's very fascinating. And just to interject that, as far as in the athletic field, this is fascinating to me. Um, so now, you have a lot of girls jumping into boys sports. Fine, I have no problem with that. But to me, it's confusing as a guy. Okay, so they jump into, like, you see women football players and little girl wrestlers that wrestle against boys, and they play football against boys. Those are brutal sports. I'm sorry, they're brutal sports. They're meant to you talk about testosterone. You're gonna hit somebody, and you're gonna take them out. You know, well, this whole kind of, well, girls should be able to do that too. Well, I don't know any part of a normal functioning male that can unleash the deepest part of that testosterone to knock somebody out, to do that to a girl. What a confusing message. What a confusing message. It's got to be bonkers. Or if I'm wrestling them, boy, I wrestled a couple years, and that's tough. And you better get your head into another level of you know. And if I do that to a girl, we're taught in society, there's men don't do that to women. You don't do that, you know. You don't.
Right.
So there's a part of you innately, and I think if you're a healthy male, and if you're a healthy boy, you should not want to unleash that on the opposite sex, on a female.
Right.
So what a confusing message that is for these young boys. We think it's great for the girls and think like, oh yeah, great for the girls, but what about the boys? It's a really interesting. I don't know if anybody ever thinks of them. You know, I know for a fact, if I had a girl lined up when I was a big football player, and I had to really go against some big boys, and I unleash on them, and I tell you what, if there's a girl in front of me, I couldn't do it. I couldn't unleash that kind of savageness onto a girl. I mean,
Mm.
what is that teaching? What does that teach? What does that teach you as a young man, or a young boy? It's okay to unleash that kind of rage on a girl. We understand it in sports on guys because we can, you know, that's a sport. But anyway, again,
Yeah.
it's these mixed signals that keep getting thrown out there and getting thrown out more. So it can be very confusing and maddening to a whole generation. So
Yeah.
and I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm not.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
not saying what's right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just confusing.
Right.
It's just
And
confusing.
it's a very unique perspective, right? Because ultimately, the whole goal of what I'm trying to do here is really explain that, like, there is not one kind of guy.
Right,
There's not
right,
one kind of
right, right,
men. There are so many expressions of
right. I
men.
agree.
And here is the expression, if we get back into the physical, the root, right? At the
Mhm.
very basic, there is this like organic, like war, like hunter
Mm. Yeah.
expression that comes
Oh
out
yeah.
in men. And for the men, for the young boys that maybe have a deeper, that maybe can identify with that
Hmm,
a
hmm.
little bit
Right.
more,
Yes.
not having the opportunity to have the outlet to express that, so that way they can feel a little bit more balanced, not judging them
Mhm.
and saying, well, it shouldn't be that way, you should be more feminine, you should be softer. And it's like, why can't you just accept me as I am? Like, my authentic self says I am a hunter, I am a warrior,
Yeah.
and that this part of me wants to be expressed,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
I don't feel safe
Hmm,
here. I'm getting mixed signals on who I'm supposed to be, but while
hmm.
I'm trying to explain to you that if I am trying to tell you who I am, it is this hunter warrior,
Yeah. Yeah.
And where is there a safe space for the hunter warrior in me to come out,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
be expressed? So I
Right.
totally hear that,
Right. Right. And then if the hunter warrior doesn't get to express that, um, and understand how to balance that properly, but embrace it and then balance it, you might run into some issues. There's gonna be a problem there. You know, and I'm not saying that this hunter warrior masculine energy, which absolutely is there and exists, doesn't go too far, and they do that, maybe hurt people. You know what I mean? Obviously, everything's again, it's a balance, but you're still in that nature. You're that way, so it's okay to be that way and know how to balance it out and control it whenever you need to control it, and just balance. It's the same thing, because you have to have some kindness, right? I mean,
Right.
even as a warrior hunter, I've seen some of the greatest warrior hunters are kind people, because they express that so much. They're some of the greatest guys, and would help anybody, do anything for anyone, and are so gentle, some of them, you know what I mean? But boy, it's partially because they get to express that, and they express on a regular basis, and they know they're dangerous, so they're cool with it, and are super guys, you
Yeah.
know so they have to have that portion as well, and it helps them to balance. And it's the same as some others who young boys or something. They say, sometimes you hear parents say, oh, he's just, he's a little softer. I'm a little bit worried about him because he's not like the typical guys, typical boys, where he's really, well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But he has to be balanced as well, right? He still has to be balanced. It doesn't mean he has to be a girl. You know what I mean? He still has to take care of certain business. You know what I mean? But be a little softer about it. There's nothing wrong with that either. Like you said, there's just different energies,
Right.
but we all, no matter what spectrum you lie on, have to balance that out somehow. You know what I
Right.
mean? We have to balance that energy. There's male lions and there's male rabbits, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not going to make a male rabbit a male lion, but it's still a male rabbit that's probably doing its male thing. Has to balance it out. I'm not saying that, you know, what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that one's not more
So,
important than the
no,
other, that
not
one's
more
not better
important.
than the other. It's
No,
who
right,
are you? Who are you
right,
authentically?
right, and it's
And this
okay
is
either way.
really the source of
Mhm,
a lot of journeys that people go on, is like,
mhm,
who are you? And who have you been trained to think that you should or should not be? And I definitely feel that there are a lot of mixed signals out for men in terms of who they should be in order to fit the mold of what society
mhm.
is trying to portray. And women deal with the same thing,
Oh no, yeah,
but
right, right,
I
right,
feel that
right.
there is
I agree.
still, guys, they're more likely to just like let it brush off the shoulder. Like, okay, I mean, whatever. I guess I'll just kind of like go with the flow of it. And really, the journey comes when you're like, you know what, maybe I don't want to go with the flow with this, and I want to figure out who I am. And I want to figure out how to bring myself further into balance. And I want to figure out what ways I can express my authentic self. What forms of exercise, what forms of fitness, what forms of movement do I need in order to express myself fully without getting over attached to certain identities or dogma or traditions that might have been forced upon me through my family, my friends, my communities, the media, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
that's kind of what I'm hearing. Does that sound accurate
That's
or like,
that's that's totally spot on.
yeah.
Totally spot on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that like one of the questions that was on here is like, what does living authentically mean to you? Like I don't know if people like really know like what it means to be authentic because we are
Mhm.
so indoctrinated with like these concepts of what is good, what is bad, what is attractive, what's not attractive, like what
Mhm.
is man, what is
Yeah.
not man, like
Yeah.
it's
Right.
just like
Right.
how do we even begin to dive into what does it mean to be your most authentic self so that way you can come in figure out how to balance yourself out. So I
Yeah.
guess the question that I want to ask is like um, you as a health coach in fitness, like what are some of the things, tips and tricks that you would give people to really start diving into living a more authentic life? Like, do you have questions? Do you have um, tips
Mhm.
for that to help
Wow.
them to get their own insight on themselves? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's a that's a big question. Along the lines of health coaching. I dive more into their aspect of that portion of it, but finding the authentic self, like you said, and we touched a little base on that earlier. I think about trying different things,
Mm,
exploring different things, like you mentioned. I think the more exposure you have to different anything, different types of exercise, different types of meditation, different types of religion, different types of um, psychology or whatever.
like social
You see a
groups,
lot of
like
social groups, yes, yes, cultures, races,
environment.
yeah,
Yeah.
environments, and just getting exposed to as much as possible. Because, like you said, I think what's really difficult, it's really difficult for anybody is you're raised by parents, right? We're all raised by parents, so we naturally start picking up their ideas, and it's really difficult to sometimes pull away from certain ideas and really kind of embrace what are your own. That's part of the growing up part of it. And if you haven't had parents that allow you to explore a lot of different things, that's a little tougher. But that's something I would suggest anybody to at some point. You have to, if something's not feeling right or something's not fitting into maybe the what you're raised in, or the dogma maybe from religion, or the dogma you got from your parents. Maybe you need to eventually start reading in a healthy manner, start exploring different ideas, different concepts, different religions, different whatever, and explore that. You know, my goodness, this day and age, it's at our fingertips to be able to explore so much, and find out so much, and do it in a healthy manner. You know, and
Right.
start developing. You know, what do you gravitate towards? You know, that's a that's what's interesting. It's just that's that keeping that open mind, and that's a tough thing to do. It's a harder harder done, harder to do. Easy to say, but it's a journey. It's a
Yeah.
it's a it's a life journey, and you know again, being this age, I appreciate being able to look back and realizing that God, we have a lot of time. You can explore a lot of different things in the time that you're given. You can. We can. We get caught up sometimes that, oh, I don't have time. I got to do it right now. You know what I mean? I got to do everything. I got to do it this way right now. You know, well, relax a little bit. Yeah, do it that way a little bit, but keep your mind open into this too, and take your time with it, and keep aware of this over here. Maybe explore that so you get a little understanding of that. Worst case, you get a good understanding of a lot of different things, right?
Right.
You get a great understanding of a lot of different ideas, concepts, and everything, and you'll naturally, I think, gravitate towards something. But
Yeah.
get a therapist. You know what I mean? Get a life
Right.
coach. Get a therapist. Get somebody to talk to. Don't be that tough guy or that tough person that think you can do it on your own. Um, Find somebody to talk to. I was very stubborn. I was very stubborn and had to, explore things on my own a lot, and discover it on my own. And there's a lot of times I look back and been like, man, I probably should have just broke that down and talked to somebody, to avoid some stuff. But it's all good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Explore. Keep an open mind.
yeah. Okay. I love that message.
Mhm.
The one thing that I wanted to touch on, I love how you use the word like gravitate. And when you say that, the thing that comes to mind is like the energy of like ease and resistance.
Mhm.
And like how for us to
Mhm.
really tap into ease or resistance, like we got to get into our feelings,
Mhm.
which I feel like as even as like women, like it's like
Mhm.
feelings are too big. I'm just supposed to push through. But that to me is super masculine energy. Is like, who cares what I'm feeling? I got to do it anyway. I got to do it. Who
Right.
cares what I'm feeling?
Yeah.
I got to do it anyway. And
Right.
when we explore these possibilities, like if somebody wants to bring like from my perspective as a life coach, it's like, okay, so you are here because your life, you want to improve your life, right?
Mhm.
And there are things that you're talking about with your with thought. This is not working for me. This is not working for me. This is not working for me. It makes me feel upset. This makes me angry. This makes me frustrated. This makes me sad. And it's like, but it okay, and it's like, no, like that's what we're looking for. If we can really like use the emotions as a gauge of like, I need change here, something here needs to change. Unless, of course, like I also feel touching back into nutrition, like if naturally your gut health is not in balance, your hormones are not in balance, yeah, like emotions can get a little like
Mhm.
testy.
Mhm.
But overall, the root of a lot of emotions are going to tell us whether we are in resistance with something, if something's crossing a boundary, and if something needs to change. Where um, and I feel that a lot of people get afraid to break those things down and look at them and be like, this sucks. This
Mhm.
sucks. Let me problem solve and try to figure out how to like move forward. So not that I'm like, okay, I totally am. Like, I'm also going to answer this question. Take an inventory. Like,
Mhm.
guys, like, I understand that like feelings can be like really intense and that like life can like really suck sometimes. But if you can actually sit down and look at the different facets of your life, their physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, relationships, finance, environment, like, there's so many different like areas of life that
Mhm.
compile into like what it is to have a human experience. And if any of these areas of your life are not feeling like a 10, not feeling like an 8, 9, 10, like 7, 8, 9, 10, then it's really time to begin, as you had said, exploring other options.
Explore
You know,
other options. Right.
exploring
Mhm.
options, seeing if there's anything that resonates, that feels
Mhm.
easy and effortless, that makes you feel good, or feeling if it doesn't. And at the end of the day, at least you have the experience. At least you
Mhm.
have an
Mhm.
opportunity to get to know yourself a little bit better, and
Yeah.
to maybe even potentially guide other people into the direction. It's like, hey, I was feeling really crappy. I tried rock climbing. It wasn't
Mhm.
for me. Like, yeah, it was fun.
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily something that I would do
Mhm.
repetitively, but hey, I think you might really love that. The
Yeah.
environment was cool. There was somebody there that reminded me of you. So I feel like also when we open ourselves up to trying new things,
Mhm.
we also make ourselves available to helping other people find out what might work for them as well.
Mhm. And to add to that, and that's beautifully said. And this is, you just saying that right there is that's what's would be great about having a life coach, that picks all those various aspects, because it is, you know, you just dove into a little bit more than just mind, body, spirit, but there's, social, all that, financial. So you do have all those aspects, which I totally agree. That was beautifully said. And that's what's good about, like I said, working with a life coach, so you can explore all of that. But to add to that, just to know that as well, is that you have control over all those aspects. I think
Yes.
that's so important, so important. It's almost like kind of a baseline thing to understand that you have control over that, no matter what, no matter how bad any aspect is. You have the ultimate control. You know,
Right.
and that is to understand that. I think is the great start to actually healing.
Mm.
Because there's you run into some people, a lot of people that's like, well, this person did that, and so I'm done. It's like, well, you have ultimate control. You have the ultimate control, not that person, unless you want to give that control away, to somebody else. You know, so yeah, I think that's important, very first step, right, for anybody is to
Yeah.
understand that they're in control. You're in control. You're in control. Ultimately, you're in control of you.
Yeah.
So, mhm,
Yeah, if there are things in your life that are not working, you can only blame everything else for so
for
long
so long, right?
before it needs to be realized that you have the right, the ability to make a change, to choose
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
different, to take an action in a different direction. So, um, to kind of be a little bossy here, to be a little firm, like stop giving your power away.
Stop
Like
getting, yeah,
stop.
yeah, absolutely,
Like you
absolutely.
truly do have the power in that. Not the power over the situation, not the power over other people, but you have the power to decide what your reaction is going to be, what choice you are going to make inside of any of these situations that you are unhappy, miserable, stressed, unbalanced, etc. in.
Yeah,
And that is a super powerful realization
yeah.
whenever you accept that responsibility, when you accept that level of accountability for
Hmm.
your own life, of really increasing your self-awareness of where you're falling short,
Yeah,
where you're giving up your power, and then saying, you know what, I'm done.
right.
My life is important. Bringing wellness and balance into my life is important, and so I'm
Hmm.
going to choose
Hmm.
that, what
Yeah.
however that looks. And I'm okay to screw it up a little bit. I'm
Hmm.
okay to like
Hmm. Yeah.
try to figure it out. It's going to be messy. It's not going to be perfect,
It's not going to be
everyone.
perfect. No,
You
it's a
know,
journey. It's a
you
journey.
just got to take the step at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
yeah, yeah. So
So,
just in the aspect of health, I control what I put in my mouth on a regular basis. I control that.
right.
There's nobody feeding me, nobody feeding you, nobody feeding anybody. I have ultimate control over that. You know, not that I'm saying we don't deal with our temptations and stuff like that, but yeah, that comes. That comes. It's
Right.
fine. It's fine. But I'm the one still doing that. So
Yeah.
you have control, and that's to really grasp that. Um, it's almost kind of enlightening. People get enlightened just to hear that or see that whenever they hear that. Like, oh yeah, I am doing that. We want to pawn it off on this excuse of that, and I get it, but
So,
you're ultimately doing that. So I want to feel good today. So, if I want to feel good, I eat well. That's a good base. It's a good baseline
mm,
there. If I want
yeah,
to feel good, I eat well. You know, so
absolutely.
coming back to health.
Yeah, coming back into health and knowing that you don't have to do it alone. That's why we are coaches here at the end of the day. If you need support, If you want to help anchor some
Yeah.
accountability,
Yeah.
just to have somebody there to support you,
Yeah.
go grab a coach, go sit down with somebody, take some of that weight off of yourself and get the support
Yes.
that you deserve, ultimately, that you
Mhm.
deserve and that you
Mhm.
may possibly need. And maybe you just want it. Like, it's okay to want some support and some help, you know?
Amen. Amen. Absolutely.
So, with all of that, we've kind of hit the hour, which I think is great.
Mhm.
I think we hit a lot of great messages, a lot of great points. And so,
Mhm.
what I wanted to do was, I wanted you to be able to share again what it is that you do and how people can reach out to you or see your blog or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Mhm. Yeah. So I started this little blog. If anybody wants to take a look at it, it's www.mindbodyspiritgrowth.com is the website, and it's just it was mainly started in a for an outlet for me just to kind of express some of those ideas and concepts we just talked about of balancing the mind, body, and spirit. And it's really impacted me and has helped me in my journey to constantly be aware of that and balance my life through balancing those three things, and finding practices in those three areas that that make me feel good, and elevate me. And you can, the more you dive into it, the more you can see in those and others around you that might not be so balanced, and that's okay. But so I have that on my blog. You can look at that, and I also have a link there for my health coaching that you can schedule an initial consult with, free consult, just to talk about what to do as far as where you are with your health, how you want to explore it, and kind of share with you there what what I do and what journey we want to take as far as your health, what journey you want to take with your health, and I guide you through that process. Um, so that's a way to reach me on Facebook as well. If you want to, anybody would want to message me on there and stuff, and chit chat. It's always good. I like finding like-minded, spiritual, mental, physical, spiritual, mental people that really gravitate towards this message. Always great to communicate and talk and build kind of a network of people with same mindset. So
Yeah. And you do this on Zoom, right? Like, it's not just in person. You're based out of Morgantown.
Morgantown.
And
Yeah, yeah. I'm associated with Pro Performance, and I am bringing the health coaching to Pro Performance. I just got started into the health coaching aspect. I did personal training for 25 years now, and so I've been in that industry in one aspect or another, in therapy and physical and personal training for over 25 years now. And just getting into the health coaching because I really love, got my certification and working on a master certification in health coaching right now because I really like the approach that health coaching takes, and the journey that people are on with their health and helping them through that journey. I'm working with a few clients now, and it's a very powerful tool. The health coaching is a very powerful tool, and I am I'm loving the results that people are getting and how empowered they feel with their health, and the changes that they're making is rejuvenating me again in this industry of after being in management for a long time, and still in it, just working with the clients and hearing their success, and how they feel with their success and how good they feel about it is uh, is feeds my soul. So I love it.
nice.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to know, my name is Alesha Dunlevy. I am the Miracle Life Coach. I'm a shamanic practitioner. I focus on mind and negative mindsets and spiritual development. So we learn about, I have a chakra program in terms of self-healing. We dive into philosophy. We dive into self-healing modalities through the chakra system. We do some intuition development. I teach a course on that. I definitely love the shadow work stuff that we do, which we dive into dogma, traditions, really like lifting up the veil of who we have been told to be, the masks of what we have put on to protect ourselves throughout life, and really like liberating ourselves and stepping more into our most authentic self through mindsets and spiritual development. So if you want to reach out to me, you guys are already on my broadcast, but it's aleshadunlevy.com. My Instagram is here at Alesha's Healing Heart. And yeah, you can find Robert Dunlevy there. It's scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, mybodyspiritgrowth.com. He has his free consult there. His health coaching is through Zoom. So yes, anybody that has any sort of comments, drop them down below. We are so grateful for everybody that showed up today, that got anything from this, whether in the male embodiment or the female embodiment, allowing the voice of the masculine embodiment to really speak up about their healing journey and giving some awesome insight and wisdom. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Peace and love, everyone.